afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to our Thursday edition of the Government Information Center sessions. Today, we do have a topic that is looking at vote of no confidence and processes in the political office bearers realm. But before we get to that, we would like to call on our Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, that's Honorable Emma Theophilus. She will be giving us the Cabinet update this afternoon. Cabinet briefing, pardon me. Good afternoon, Honorable. How are you today?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be giving this afternoon's Cabinet decisions at the 17th decision-making meeting of Cabinet held on the 4th of October 2022. Number 1 is related to International Civil Aviation Organization at the 41st Triennium Assembly and Elections of President and Vice President of the ICAO Council and related matters. Cabinet authorized the Deputy Minister of Works and Transport to head the accredited Namibian delegation to attend and participate in the elections or re-elections of the states seeking election or re-election to the Council of International Civil Aviation Organization during the 41st Triennium ICAO Assembly to be held in Montreal, Canada from the 27th September to the 7th October 2022. Cabinet further authorized the accredited Namibian delegation to adopt Resolution PS/33/13 of the Africa Civil Aviation Commission regarding voting for the Africa representation on the ACIO Council for the period 2022 to 2025. Cabinet also authorized the accredited Namibian delegation participating in consultations with the AFCAC delegation at the Assembly with a view to exercise its voting rights in respect of other member states in respective categories for election to the Council. The second Cabinet decision is related to the extension of the project repatriation of persons of Namibian descent from Botswana. Cabinet approved the extension of the project for a further 3 years from 2023-2024 to 2025/2026 financial years. Cabinet endorsed that the current Interministerial Committee for the Repatriation of Persons of Namibian Descent be incorporated to serve with the same mandate in the proposed Joint Commission on the Repatriation of Persons of Namibian Descent for the extended period of the project. Cabinet further took note of the additional funding requirements to implement the project's activities for the repatriation of persons of Namibian descent from Botswana and direct the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform to fund their said extension through the normal budgetary processes. Last but not least, the final Cabinet decision is related to the status of water supply security in the country. Cabinet took note of the general state of water security and supply in Namibia and the attention being afforded by the Cabinet Committee on Water Supply Security to secure the continuous and future supply of water to all parts of Namibia. Cabinet took note of the 21 projects identified and related interventions approved to ensure the security of water supply in Namibia and the progress being made with the implementation thereof. Cabinet then took note of the cumbersome process and difficulties still being experienced with the commissioning of the permanent pump station at the Kalweke Dam in Angola. Cabinet took note of the uncertainties around accepting a loan offered by the KfW Development Bank to upgrade the Gamams and Ochomwisa sewage plants, for which upgrades are essential for the construction of a further direct potable water reclamation plant in Windhoek, the latter having been identified as an essential additional source of water supply to the central areas of Namibia. Cabinet then took note that the Technical Committee of Experts and the Namibia Water Corporation, NamWater, are still investigating and working on the visibility of establishing a new desalination plant along the coast to be developed in collaboration with the private sector as directed by Cabinet, and once concluded, Cabinet will be appraised accordingly. Finally, Desire, Cabinet took note of the critical status and severe difficulties experienced with Namibia's participation in the various international water commissions dealing with the perennial rivers which form some of its borders with neighboring countries, and I'm sure, as you know, Angola and South Africa. Yes. That brings us to the end of the Cabinet decisions issued at the 17th Cabinet decision-making meeting held on the 4th of October, 2022.
Thank you very much, Honorable. It is very good to know that some of the problems that we are facing are clearly being addressed. Even though we don't see it every single day, there are workings being done. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
As we continue this afternoon's topic, we are looking at vote of no confidence and processes thereof when it comes to political office bearers. And to discuss this topic with us this afternoon, I have a lovely lady here, and she is Ms. Frida Andreas, who is the Deputy Director for Local Authorities Coordination in the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon, Desire, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being, available. I think that's the most important thing here. People are quite busy, so it's always good to have people availing themselves to come and help us tackle some of these topics. As we say, this is an educational platform, and we always here to try and educate ourselves as well as the public out there. So please feel free to join us on our social media platforms in the conversation by putting on your questions there or even adding your comments. On Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That is on Facebook, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. We're also live streaming through our YouTube platform, and our handle there is MICT Namibia, MICT Namibia. We carry on here, and I think the first question that we would want to gain clarity on, that is, Ms. Andreas, what is a political office bearer, and can you kindly give us examples thereof in our Namibian context?
Thank you very much for the question. To give a definition, is that a political office bearer is someone who's holding office through political elections or through political appointments.
Okay.
Now, one of the examples is like you have your political office bearers at the level of central government, which is, say, for instance, your ministers, your deputy ministers. You have your political office bearers at the level of a regional level, which is the regional councillors, and also the governors, if we may say. And we also have the level of political office bearers at the level of local authorities, where we have the local authority councillors.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Now, of late, in political circles, not just in our Namibian context or circles, but also I think in a lot of our SADC countries, we've been hearing the words such as votes of no confidence or the recalling of political office bearers and so on. But what does this mean? And what is the actual difference between somebody being recalled and a vote of no confidence being passed with regards to a specific political office bearer?
Basically, we must also take cognizance that the voters are now becoming more aware of their rights. And this is just one of the issues that voters are now becoming, holding these political office bearers accountable. Now, with regard to recalling, is that in the event of regional councillors, the regional councillors are actually appointed based on constituencies. They're actually elected, beg your pardon, elected based on constituencies. But when it comes to local authorities, we don't have what we call a ward system. Okay. And these people are appointed on party list. Now, when it comes to recalling a local authority councillor, is basically as a local authority is delivered, a local authority councillor is delivered through a political system. Now, the political party concerned might then recall this councillor, and once you are recalled, it actually basically means that you are no longer a councillor. But before that, I also want to mention that when political parties are registered with the ECN, they have a list of their members. Now, once a specific councillor has been recalled by their party, it's then required that the party has then to ensure that that vacancy is filled. Now, to fill this vacancy with regard to local authority councillors, the next person will be the one which is next on the list of that specific political party that has recalled their councillor. Now, the difference between the recalling is that once you are recalled, you are no longer a councillor. When we have now to go to vote of no confidence, vote of no confidence, this is provision which is made in terms of the standing rules of order. These are gazetted rules that has been made in terms of Section 14 of the Local Authorities Act. The Local Authorities Act is the law that is governing the operations of local authorities, including the council and the councillors. Now, once you say, for instance, there is a councillor who have moved a motion or vote of no confidence. It means basically that you can still remain a councillor, but you are actually only stripped from the portfolio that you were having. Say, for instance, you were the mayor, and once one of the councillors move a vote of no confidence, then it means they don't have confidence in you as a mayor, not necessarily as a councillor. So you can still remain a councillor, but then the portfolio that you were holding will then have to be stripped. And that is a classic example with what happened currently with the management committee of City of Windhoek. A vote of no confidence had been moved, and then the MC were stripped from their responsibilities, but they remain councillors of City of Windhoek.
Okay, but now, in the case, for example, of a vote of no confidence, is it merely based on one member bringing up this motion, or is the motion brought up but taken through a vote or something, or is it just as long as one person brings up this motion?
Yeah, this motion is actually, it can be from one councillor where they are submitting a motion to be part of the agenda of the council meeting. And once this motion has been tabled and there's no one to oppose, then the motion will go through. Yes, it doesn't necessarily have to come from more than one councillor. It can also be one councillor, it can be 2 or 3, but one councillor, in terms of the standing rules of order, can also move a vote of no confidence.
But now, what if somebody does oppose it? Then what happens?
When it's opposed, then it goes back now for its way, it's now discussed further, and then the council can then agree, and then the majority will then make a decision. And once a majority decision is taken, that will then serve as a council decision, a collective council decision, even though there was those councillors who were opposing. A council decision becomes collective, and that is legally binding.
On what type of offences can a political office bearer be recalled?
Maybe I should also stretch that in terms of our legal framework, the Local Authorities Act, it also makes provision in terms of Section 13, also make provision for a councillor to be recalled. But this is done in terms of once the council has made recommendations to the minister, and then the minister also give a platform for that councillor to be heard. But the offences in terms of the Local Authorities Act is with regard to conviction of crime, is with regard to abscondment of council meetings. And then also what I have to say is that with regard to the Code of Conduct of Councillors, which is also gazetted in 2015, it also have indications as what are the offences. But then with regard to the Local Authorities Act, all the offences are now listed under Section 13. Now, there is a recall that is now done also by a political party. Now, those will then depend on the party. Maybe it can be, I don't want to talk on their behalf, but it can be something contrary to the manifesto, their manifestos, or something contrary to their constitution or to their political principles.
Okay, okay. You're reminded as our viewer to join the conversation if you need to join the conversation, and you can do so by, coming onto our social media platforms. You can drop your question there, and on Facebook you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's on Facebook. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, pardon me, Republic of Namibia. We're also on our YouTube platform, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. The lines are open, and you can also give us a call and join the conversation through that particular platform there. And our number in the studio, 061 is the regional code, and then the number is 400397. 400397. That is the number in the studio. We continue with this conversation while we wait for you to join us here in the studio. Ms. Andreas, what procedures need to be carried out in order for a vote of no confidence to be passed on an office bearer? I think we kind of went into that a bit. I don't know if you want to elaborate a bit more on that.
I can elaborate, but I would also like the viewers to know that the vote of no confidence is a process which is done within a local authority, not necessarily starting with a ministry, as the sector ministry. But I've already alluded that we have what we call the standing rules of order. Now, the vote of no confidence is actually moved in terms of rule number 19 of the standing rules of order. But it also takes into consideration that it has to start with rule 13 up to rule 16. This is now basically giving you the processes that is supposed to be followed. A motion has to be moved in writing. It has to be submitted before the meeting. And as you know, a council meeting, the notice is always given for 72 days, 72 hours before the meeting, meaning that that motion has to be then be part of the agenda, and the motion is not moved during the council meeting. It has to be moved before, so that the agenda is circulated to all the councillors to know that there is a motion that has been moved. And then in terms of rule 19, it will then be tabled. Once it's tabled, if it is unopposed, it goes through. If it is opposed, it goes for discussion. And then the majority rule will then decide.
Okay. Have we ever had scenarios where political office bearers had to be recalled for any offences? If yes, what were some of these offences? And these are examples more within our Namibian context.
Yes, we have a lot of those scenarios. And currently we are also busy, like as I said, that once we have been recalled, a vacancy will then appear within that specific council. We have a lot of those scenarios that has taken place. And because we are in Windhoek, I just want to give the practical example, which is very close to us.
Yeah.
Is the recall of the former councillor of Windhoek, Mr. Philemon Ambuda, and then also Councillor Desiree. Maybe those are some of the practical examples
That we've had.
of councillors that have been recalled. But it did not only happen with City of Windhoek, it happened with also other various local authorities. We have currently, like now, we have 3 councillors who were recalled from Keetmanshoop municipality,
Yeah.
and some were recalled from Mariendal, the recent one also. It's quite a lot.
Okay.
So we keep on updating our list
Yeah.
as we are filling these vacancies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these vacancies, they are filled by getting a notice from the concerned local authority. Once we get the notice, together with a letter from the specific political party, we then prepare notice for gazetting and fill the vacancy.
Okay. As we're saying, this is a conversation that we're having with you as our Namibian, community, and we would like you to actually join us. If you have any questions, you can do so. You can give us a call in the studio. It is something that definitely touches all of us, I believe, because we are led by these political office bearers. If you have any qualms and queries that you have had for quite some time, I believe Ms. Andreas would be able to assist you or even direct you to the right officers if she cannot give us particular responses right now. As we said, on social media platform, you can find us on Facebook, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. We get back to the conversation here, and we would like to find out from Ms. Andreas, do these political office bearers sign codes of conduct with their political parties prior to them being sworn into the various offices?
That question is a very good question, because one can say that if they were signing code of conducts, then we will not have scenarios of recalling.
Okay.
Because then the people will adhere to the code of conduct.
Yeah.
Now, I will not know whether they are signing code of conduct with their political parties, unless maybe there's another platform where the political parties can then indicate if they have a code of conduct for their councillors. The code of conduct that we have as a ministry, there is no signing with regard to councillors, but we have a code of conduct in place. So I will not be in position as to speak on behalf of the political parties whether they are signing this code of conduct. But I think maybe if they were signing, we could not have a lot of scenarios where councillors are recalled, because otherwise they could have complied.
Exactly, exactly. Very good point that you have there. Now we move on to the issue of independent candidates. They, as far as I'm concerned, are not attached to any political structure. Now, in this case where you have an independent candidate, who has the right, if I can call it that, to reprimand them in the absence of a political party structure?
Maybe to start with, before I respond to who reprimand them, is that these independent candidates, even though they do not have a party structure, we must also take into consideration that for them to qualify, they need to have a certain number as required by the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
They have to have a certain number that will then make them as a qualifying criteria also for them to participate.
Okay.
But with the Electoral Act of 2014, we could not find a definition, where an independent candidate is defined. And also with other legal frameworks, like as I've mentioned, the local authorities, does also not make provision for that. That's why you will also see that we do not have independent candidates at local authority level. But at the regional council level, we do have independent candidates. Now, these independent candidates, they are participating as part of democracy, and that is a provision which is made in the Constitution in terms of Article 17.
Okay.
This is how they are participating. But one thing that we should also take into consideration is that yes, it's an independent candidate,
Yeah.
but this candidate, once they got a seat, especially at the regional council level, they are a councillor like any other councillor.
Okay.
And they are subject to the code of conduct of the regional councillors, and they are also subject to the provisions of the standing rules of order of the Regional Councils Act. And to reprimand them, they can be reprimanded as a councillor, but not necessarily like in the public. So we give this honors to the public because they are the ones who support these candidates so that they can also serve as the eyes on behalf of government to monitor and see whether their candidate is sexually behaving or conducting them in a manner that is satisfactory to the public as their leader that they have elected.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned that we've got two different levels here that we're talking about with you, which is our local authority and regional. And at regional is where we find these independent candidates.
Yes.
Now, I'm now wondering, at that regional level with this independent candidate, so I, as a person from the street, am I allowed to then, should I say, pass a vote of no confidence in their leadership if they have a particular portfolio that they're having within that regional council sphere? Or is it only the council members that are allowed to then pass votes of no confidence?
In terms of the standing rules of order, this standing rules of order was actually made for councillors. So that is what is the tools that is given to the councillors, and is based on that they can move a vote of no confidence.
Okay.
We have not yet received a vote of no confidence outside that perimeter, but as a public can also submit, say for instance, a petition. They can also, if anything which is in the interest of the public, it can also be heard. And on those notes, one can say that the public is also, it's actually the electorates, they are the electorates. And it's high time that the public also now start to bring their councillors to task so that they can actually keep up with the voting promises that they are always giving to these voters. But for now, in terms of our legal framework, the vote of no confidence is mostly moved by councillors within the perimeters of the standing rules of order.
Okay, okay. We are nearing the end of our session this afternoon. I'd like to then just give the platform once again to Ms. Frida Andreas, if she has any closing remarks that she would want to give to the nation.
I really would like for us to understand that local authority councillors as well as regional councillors, these are the people whom we are electing. And I also want to emphasize that once a person has been elected and you become a councillor, you are actually part and parcel of that council, that specific council. But what I want to urge, especially the political parties, is that we have scenarios that a person is a councillor, but then they are not fully active participating in council matters. And this is actually sort of, it's neutralizing the whole governance system, because you are there elected to serve the people, and if you are not actively participating, it's very difficult that a few will actually make decisions on your behalf. Even though you are not happy with those decisions, at least let your voice be heard. And then you can say that, no, I've made a contribution.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No, as Ms. Andres is saying, I think at the end of the day, it is also our responsibility to make sure that whoever we do put in office does actually do the work that they are elected to do. And there are rules in place, there are procedures in place to hold these office bearers to task. I believe that is our right, if I can put it that way. And also, it might just be one of the ways that we can help clean up, if I can call it that. We are always complaining, we're always having issues, and this is with the presence of councillors in place. So away from the monetary or the money issues that we are always struggling with, I believe that we also have a part or a role to play in making sure that our councillors and elected persons actually do carry out their duties. Thank you very much, Ms. Frida Andreas. She is the Deputy Director in the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development for Local Authority Coordination. Thank you for availing yourself for this topic this afternoon. From myself, Desire Kahia, along with my production crew, until Monday. Bye-bye.